It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of #EventIcons, presented by Endless Events, the show where you get to ask the icons of the events industry anything. Use the question panel on the webinar to submit your questions, or you can hop on Twitter. Submit your questions with #EventIcons. We'll be answering your questions live during the entire show. Before we get started, the more people we have watching, the better conversation we can have. So please help share #EventIcons on Twitter and Facebook. Just tell your friends to watch at www.event-icons.com. Now, without any further delay, this is #EventIcons.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this 104th episode of Event Icons, #EventIcons. And if you've seen the show, then you know who I am. I am Alex Plaxton. I am your host. I am the president and founder of a company called Little Bird Told Media, and social media is our game. So I'm very excited for today's show, where we're going to be talking about social media groups and communities. We have some incredible experts on the show today. As you know, social media is a challenge. It's an opportunity. It can be overwhelming, and narrowing your focus, finding the places, figuring out how to use the tools in the right way is really important. And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today is how do you build your community? How do you tell your story? And we're going to be focusing a lot on LinkedIn today, which is one of these really fast growing platforms right now. And it's been around for a while, but since Microsoft took it over and people are kind of fleeing Facebook, LinkedIn is actually growing. And a lot of people don't know that. And it's a great place to have conversations and engage. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I want to introduce my co-host today, Will Curran.
Woo! Well, everyone knows who I am, so I don't want to waste time introducing, but I'm super excited for this week's episode because at Endless, we've been definitely doubling down on Facebook and LinkedIn groups, and so I want to have a conversation about it because I don't think a lot of people know how powerful they can be for your opportunity to meet your next customer, your next employee, maybe even your next partner and vendor. So I definitely want to dive in really quick and introduce our guests. Again, as usual, I'm going to go really quick because these guys got their own stories to tell, but give you a little bit of background. So let's start off with Mr. David Adler, who is a returning guest, I think third time now. David is the founder and CEO of BizBash, just a little small media property in the events industry. If you've ever heard of him, no big deal. And David runs some of the biggest groups. His company manages some of the biggest groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. So we had to make sure we had the man himself to talk a little bit about how they utilize social media on their end. So thank you so much for joining us, David.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
All right. And also, we got some newcomers to the show, but these guys are awesome. And just because they're newcomers doesn't mean that they aren't equally as awesome. So joining us also from BizBash is Brittany Bucciaroni, who is absolutely awesome. She runs the Event Planners Gather, and then also, I forgot the name of your guys' LinkedIn group off the top of my head.
Event Planners Gather also.
Event Planners Gather as well. There you go. And they have an absolute massive audience. If you are not in those Facebook and LinkedIn groups, what are your numbers at now, Brittany?
We are at almost 18,000 on Facebook and almost 70,000 on LinkedIn.
Woo!
So
oh my gosh. Massive amount of people. I mean, some associations would be afraid of you with how big you guys are. So that's amazing. So absolutely awesome. Well, we're so happy to have you here, and also talking a little bit about your guys' marketing strategy, since you're very much, getting down in the mud and into the dirty of the strategy. So we're really excited to have you here today, Brittany.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. And last but not least, this man himself, Lachi Senhaji. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Yes, awesome. He makes fun of me for saying his name wrong all the time. But this man, he runs the second largest LinkedIn group for event planners, and he's so humble about it. I've had many conversations about it, and he's got this awesome strategy for how he's managing that group. And remind me again, what's the name of the group, Lachi?
The name of the group, I actually changed it the last month. Okay, it's becoming now the EventProfs. Not only event manager. I was thinking that event managers is only speaking about the management side of the events industry, but now I changed it to EventProfs to make it as broad as possible. About the number, it's a good one. It's 166,000.
166,000 people.
Almost worldwide, and it's a good thing to have all of these people and manage all these great and fantastic people and sharing with them on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly basis. Okay.
Wow. Absolutely. Insane. So you can see we got some of the biggest people who are managing some of the biggest groups that you probably might be a part of and you didn't even know you're a part of it. These are the guys who do all the hard work to keep it managed and keep the spam out and all that stuff. So anyways, I want to jump right on in. So I'm going to steal this one way from you, Alex, since I realized we're doing the format a little bit differently. Since we usually start the show off telling a story about, where he came in the industry. Since David has been on the show already, you can go check him out. I think it's on episode 3 or 4. Let me bring up the schedule real quick. Episode 6. If you want to hear David's story, episode 6 of EventIcons, go way back to 2015. You can hear David's full story on that one. So we'll let you go to that episode to catch that one. But David, give everyone a quick update since you haven't been on the show in a while. What are you up to today? What kind of crazy things are you working on? What do you want to share with the audience?
Well, it's kind of funny we're talking about the LinkedIn group because the way LinkedIn started is kind of the way everything starts. I was having lunch at this great restaurant called Michael's in New York City, which was all the media people hang out at. And my friend said, "Oh, LinkedIn is just starting these groups. And so you should do it." So the first day I went in and I actually figured it out all by hand and we just started the group. And it was the kind of thing that you gotta jump on this stuff fast because I think that that speed to market is absolutely critical. It's the same way I started BizBash back in 2000 when the internet was just a baby and it was costing gazillions of dollars just for a storage space. But we created this whole new thing called BizBash, and we sort of started magazines and publishing after we started the internet. So we jumped on the internet first. Now, what I'm going to announce now, which I've put an announcement on earlier, is that we are actually going to go doubling down on the print magazine business because we're going to be getting into augmented reality in magazines. Because all of a sudden, IR is the perfect use case for magazines, and it turns your magazine into a computer screen for the most part, and it's so flexible. And it also, the biggest issue with the internet is distraction. So when you're just reading one particular piece of content, you're able to concentrate on it. And I think that as we sort of experiment with the tools, it's going to be another journey. I keep saying it's like in 96, everybody said, "What is that www thing?" And so we're kind of at that rate. And there's so much money being invested in augmented reality that the idea of using print as the basis for it is completely, it's revolutionary, but it seems to me so simple. Kind of like joining a LinkedIn group or getting on the internet to create a marketplace. And so that's kind of the way I see the future going. And it's the entrepreneurs that can move on a dime, like you and me and everyone on this team, that can make this stuff happen. That's what's new.
That's awesome. That's
Amazing.
awesome. I love that you are doubling down on the print because I just read an article today from the New York Times about this guy who for 2 months, he stopped getting his news online and he just was getting his news from printed newspaper and magazines. And he said it completely changed the way that he's finding out information. And there's less distraction and there's less misinformation being shared and things like that. So I love that idea of getting back to print, but also incorporating the digital aspect of it. I think that's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
So Brittany, this is your first time on the show. One of the things that we always ask our first time guests is, how did you get started in the industry?
Well, I started out as an intern at BizBash. So I started doing marketing and production one day a week for each. And then after that, they offered me a full-time job and I've worked my way up and now I'm the director of marketing. So it's been a 5-year journey, but it's been fun. I got to work with David every single day, him running over like this new AR thing, which we put together.
I'm the millennial in this group.
Yeah, he is. He always has the craziest ideas, but we somehow make them work. And it's fun. It keeps me on my toes. And it makes me be on top of everything because I have to be.
Can I just say something about Brittany? This is like a good opportunity. That the idea that, you know, actually when boomers lean into these millennials like Brittany, it is magical. But we as boomers have to keep our ego at the door, because it is a whole different type of relationship. And I've learned how to do that. And I mean, I believe I work for Brittany, because Brittany is so, she knows how to get shit done. And it's the only idea that there's always a way to figure out how to do it. And she does it fast, accurate, with creativity and panache.
Thank you. Well, I have nothing else. I'm done. Thank you.
Brittany Love Fest over here.
Yes,
That's awesome. Lofi, same question. Your first time guest. How did you get into the industry?
How I got in the industry? Well, I had this idea, I think 2 years ago with a friend to launch our event software. Okay. So the guy would have been in, in the IT software development, of the side of the company. And about me, I would have been in the marketing, business, partnerships side. So, I'm a great believer of the power of LinkedIn. And that's the reason I contacted Bob. He's the owner of the event managers in the past, and now EventProfs group. My idea was to be the manager of this community, this great community. And what I told him is that I have this idea to launch some kind of what I call a newsletter, a LinkedIn newsletter. And I think that all of you guys have maybe read one or two, or maybe many numbers of the Event Digest. It's kind of a gather of the best news that are shared maybe on a daily or maybe weekly, on a consistent basis, let's say on the event industry. So I try to compile all of this and make of it a gather of news. So and the idea was to give to our company all the chances to be in front of the right people, that are the directors maybe of event agencies worldwide and so on. So that's how I got first of all into events. We had this idea of launching our software, and then I had to make things move on, especially from the marketing side. And LinkedIn is almost 80% of the leads that are on the internet. So why? My idea was to leave maybe all the 20% the rest, and focus on the 80% where the people are there. So that's how I think I've been in this industry. And now we having, to be honest, we're having our problems to make this software go to and begin to commercialize it, let's say, to customers and clients. But as every company in its beginning, it's hectic, it's really difficult, and we try to make things move on as we can. We have our problems, but it will happen. We will have our software, and we will market it the way we want, and especially through LinkedIn. Okay.
Awesome. And I just wanted to call out to our Facebook Live audience. We have a special guest who's watching on Facebook, who manages a community as well, Kiki L'Italian, who manages Association Chat, and she does a live show as well. So thank you for joining us, Kiki. And
thanks for joining us, Kiki.
Absolutely, if you have anything to share with us, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So I guess
I can jump in from here, Alex, if you'd like. So we talked a little bit about, obviously, the size of your guys' groups. Massive, with huge audience, 17,000, 80,000, 160,000. What I want to ask next is kind of what differentiates your group from other groups. And, obviously that's important because there's so many groups out there, just so people can have a good idea of like how it's structured. Do you guys do like weekly chats? What sort of stuff do you guys do? So Brittany, you want to kick it off? Ladies first.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. So obviously we're BizBash. We're a resource for the event industry. And I think that clout kind of makes us the perfect fit to run the group. So we try not to make it promotional. We want to make it a place where you can share ideas, share resources, and really connect with other people who share your passion. So moderation queue is a huge thing that we make sure that we have. So it's not people constantly saying, look at me, buy me, do this, blah, blah, blah. So we really just make it a place where you can express, oh, I saw this really cool trend, or even obviously from BizBash, I saw this cool article, I saw this new resource, look at this interesting thing that this event did, how would you guys use it? Or try to just throw out ideas. But that's kind of what makes us successful, is it's not a big promotional thing. We have our certain promo Fridays where people are allowed to post in one section, and we can say, hey, I have tablecloths. You can buy them for this amount of money for your event. So that's pretty much our structure.
Awesome. David, do you have anything else that you want to add? As far
sure. What's interesting about us, our focus is on about 10 to 12 major cities. So we're very deep in, we want to be deep in the market. So we want to be the place that people will really understand when they come to New York, all the things that change. When I first started this whole thing, everybody would tell me, well, we know everything. We don't need any other resources. Then you realize within 15 seconds, nobody knows anything. And everything changes like the wind. And so the idea is to be current, and the best way to be current is to use these mediums. And I think they're fantastic because it gives anybody that wants to be outspoken can be outspoken. And I think that the biggest mistake people make are not making these types of rooms their own. And really, you can easily dominate these if you want to. But it takes a lot of work. We spend $1 million a year on editorial costs, but we're asking people to do their own editorial, but they need to be thoughtful and really write in ways that move the needle, that really make people learn from what they're talking about. So I think we're over the day of what they called ambient intimacy, where you just say, oh, I just had this great meal at X, Y, and Z. Now it's about, here's an idea that can move the needle in the industry. But you've got to be a higher level participant now. And I think the problem with a lot of these things is that they're going to go down in interest because people are going to get bored if there's not stuff they can go to on a regular basis.
Oh, interesting. I think it very smart too for you to call out that hey, it's almost like what you make of it is going to be what your experience is going to be. And if you're a high level engagement with it, the group, you're going to get a lot back, right? Lachi, what about you? What sort of stuff makes your group different? Or do you find that same thing where it's high level engagement, where if you're providing great value, you're getting great value back? And what makes your group different?
Maybe I'll be honest about this answer, and it seems that I don't know. Maybe LinkedIn will block me if I say this, but it seems that LinkedIn is trying, and Brittany is actually laughing because I think that she knows what I'm going to say. The thing is that I began the event digest in the EventProfs group maybe 2 years ago, okay? And I've been having consistent engagement on it with comments, with shares, with likes, and people were congratulating to me about it and saying that it's a great place for them to know what's happening, what's trending in the industry. But lately, I can't tell you how many emails I receive maybe on a monthly basis from LinkedIn. Every time they are telling me that, well, you stop this feature, we'll do this. And it seems that the engagement is going down and down and down and down. And I think that it's understandable because groups are so interesting that people rely on, and they actually come and share, and they know that they can have the reputation through groups. So what LinkedIn is doing is that they are trying to stop this and to make people move to LinkedIn ads. They aren't making money through groups. Brittany is understanding me on this point, I think. It's even discouraging. I even had conversations with other marketers on LinkedIn that were relying on groups, and they are all saying the same thing, that the engagement is going down and down. Sometimes it's currently null, and I don't know, but you know, we just have to figure things out and know how to maybe do things differently. I don't know. It's kind of a phase where we have to adjust again and to LinkedIn's, let's say, standards or something like this. But I'm sure that they are doing this to make people move to the paid solution. Let's say.
Can I comment on what you just said, which is interesting? But I believe this is what and I've had these conversations with a lot of other kind of people that are watching it, and their thought is that we're in a post-digital era, that we're now over the shiny new object, and that for things to work, they have to really, really work. And that's why you're seeing long-form journalism coming back, and you're seeing long podcasts where people want to dig in and want to absorb as much as they can. They want to learn as much, but they want to do it in an environment. That's why, you know, when you listen to something, audiobooks are becoming really important because of the lack of distraction, I think. But I think that there's something wrong in the model in terms of a lot of these groups and a lot of the engagement. And also, one thing that you'll notice is that whenever a group gets together on LinkedIn or a digital channel, at some point they want to meet face-to-face, because there is this chemistry that's happening that you want more. You keep wanting more. And I think that you're seeing our industry, the event industry, is benefiting by the fact that people who get to know each other online want to connect in real life.
Yeah, sure. Connect in real life, maybe connect through web conferences, as there are no. I personally think this because I'm based in Morocco, and I know that maybe sometimes even France, when I tell them that I'm working with people from USA, from UK, from Canada, they don't even believe me. And it seems that it's easy for me, not easy for me, but for many people that understand how LinkedIn works, we can move the conversation or maybe the relationship from LinkedIn to a web conference, for example, and actually get the customer. That's how it works. And you can get the customer from Brazil, you can get it from Japan, there are no time or space boundaries. I'm speaking about the engagement side of groups. As I'm trying to be as, maybe I spend 3 to 4 hours on LinkedIn every day, as it's currently the area I specialized in, and it's where I have my customers, and currently the way I do I earn money, and that's what I do for a living. But it seems that I'm not speaking about other side, because if we take, for example, the Sales Navigator, it's a fantastic solution. It's somewhere, I don't know, I think that we all know about the Sales Navigator solution, and it's a place where you can filter, and you know about it, David?
What is it called?
Sales Navigator. Sales?
On Salesforce, yeah, on LinkedIn, yeah.
No, not Salesforce.
On LinkedIn, right?
On LinkedIn, they have a product solution, okay? Yeah. And they also have what we call the Sales Navigator, and that's a great solution. That's a great platform where you can filter, say, I only want people that are based in Florida for companies that have more than this XXX.
You know what I think? Let me challenge you a little bit, and I hope I'm not taking. I think people are sick of buying and selling shit. That they want to talk to each other as real human beings, and they learn from that. Oh my God, there's a great solution, but you're not buying and selling. I think that the buying and selling mentality is what is hurting a lot of these things. That people want to learn, and they want their products to fit so well, like a hand in a glove, without being sold. So you see a lot of people that are using LinkedIn for buying and selling, and it's so obvious when you're doing it that we got to move out of this. And Alex is agreeing with me, I can see, because that's really
I'm agreeing. Increasing it. It brings me to the next question that I want to ask. And everything you're saying is stuff that I've heard before from marketers and people who run these communities online. And this kind of goes with what our next question was going to be anyways, which is, what platform is your favorite to build these communities on? But is it even possible now? I know your groups have been around for a few years, but is it possible now? We, with EventIcons, are trying to develop a group on Facebook right now. Is it possible now to create a community on one of these platforms? And which platforms can you do it on?
Who wants to get that? I have an answer, but I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. You begin.
Go ahead, David.
Age, this is being an old person.
It's because I have respect for you. That's why I want
okay.
to begin.
I think that's why when I talked earlier about the first mover advantage, people jump on that. I'm friendly with Sarah Brown, who was the Prime Minister of England's wife. Started a Facebook book, one of the first ones, and when she started that right in the era, she got 1 million X followers and was part of that sort of the cabal of I think it was Twitter, all these Twitter followers, and there was about 10 people that became sort of the leaders in that, and they still are. Making it today, you have to, like, using popular culture. If you're a star, if you're something like that, then it works. You're seeing that the popular culture stars, though, can still do it, I believe. I don't believe that someone from nowhere can do it unless they use the popular culture in order to get that. Like, when we have the White House Correspondents event in DC, I'm sitting there with the media companies that are bragging about how big their followers are, and then you take one star of one TV show, outdoes them in a millisecond. So it's kind of, the machine still works. And it is hard. It is hard to be out there building what you did. That's amazing that what you did. 160,000 people on LinkedIn. That's incredible. And I don't think it's like normal. I think that you did something. You found the magic. I think that we found the magic to get where we were. But I don't think I would be able to do it today. What do other people think?
Right. I'll tell you something. Even if the group is 166,000, and maybe even your group has great numbers, I'm really impressed with what you did, guys, on with the BizBash group on LinkedIn. The most important factor is engagement.
Yes.
And
totally.
If you go, for example, now, if you go on Google and you search for these 3 keywords, you put ghost, you know, the thing, ghost, and LinkedIn and groups, you have a lot of articles talking about the fact that people that LinkedIn is trying to do, it's better to kill LinkedIn groups. You did a lot of work to I just can tell you, I have a full-time job, and I have to compile maybe 2 to 3 times the event digest. It takes me a lot of time, and then you come and you see no engagement. And the thing is that I have a graph and it's doing this. Okay, instead of going like this, normally the thing is good. People are willing to see things like this. But when LinkedIn stops notifications and telling people that even I tell you something, even for the email that you send for announcement, let's say, because admins and managers, owners have this possibility to send emails to group members, they don't receive it. That's the thing.
Yeah, of course.
They are trying to tell you, okay, we understood that people are using groups, and even Will, he's currently sharing content on the group, and I don't know if he can say the same thing, that maybe he was having engagement on his posts, but now it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very interesting because for a while you used to be able to schedule posts into LinkedIn groups, and not everyone was doing it. And then now I think that you have to manually do it. It required a lot more work from people, so therefore people all of a sudden didn't see the value in being able to automate it a little bit more. So I think that they might be thinking the groups are dying. I don't know. I still see value in the LinkedIn groups, and I'm curious to know, like, Brittany, from your perspective as well. We have a lot of people in the audience were asking, what are the engagements of your guys' group? I think Lachi, as you kind of said, that it's kind of going down. But Brittany, on your end, are you seeing that same trend where LinkedIn's going down and Facebook's going up, or what are your kind of trends are you seeing?
I think overall our engagement, it varies. There's sometimes where people are just so overwhelmed with content and overwhelmed with chatter that they're like, enough. Like, I don't need this right now. And that's one thing, is how do you cut through that? So, I mean, at times our engagement, if we post something that's really buzzworthy, like our Oscar story did really well because it was timely and it made sense. But if you post something that happened 3 weeks ago, people are like, okay, done. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're not very forgiving anymore.
No, not at all. And they're not afraid to say it right on your post. So it depends on what we're talking about, when we're talking about it, and where. We try to come up with different ways to engage, whether it's moving from Facebook, like some messaging works better on Facebook versus some messaging works better on LinkedIn. So we have to kind of figure out what we're trying to convey in our message and what audience it makes sense for.
Can I, one thing that I would bring up and to build on what you're saying, which was really smart, was that media today is now, the proper media company, the proper media brand today is really about surround sound. It's not about one channel anymore, because each person has their own, like print magazine is going to be really good for somebody that's really interested in what we do. Organic search is going to be really good on our website to get organic traffic. The LinkedIn group is going to be good for something. The Facebook group is going to be good for something. Our trade shows in New York or LA or Miami are going to be another group. So the modern media company is all about surround sound today. And that's why I think brands have to look at it as well. But you can't just rely on it, because it's a bit of a portfolio effect too. Because
awesome.
You're not going to have anything going up and down at the same time. You just can't control the world as much as we want to.
It's very interesting. I think probably one thing to the caveat to that is definitely, I think, obviously be everywhere, but at the same time, if you're first starting off, don't try to do too many things at once, right? But I love that point of the surround sound kind of vision. By the way, we want to give some shout outs. We got lots of activity, people giving you guys lots of props in the audience. Karsten Pleiser, I apologize if I said your name wrong, for shout out in the Facebook chat, as well as Swugo, who's joining us as well. We're really happy to have you guys here. So next question I kind of have for you guys is, we're talking about engagement and how do you, people probably want to know, how can you keep people engaged and maybe what to look forward to in some of these groups, or maybe something maybe you can pull from your guys' group that you guys are doing well, maybe doing their own group or doing it in a new group. But what are you guys doing to keep your groups engaged? What sort of content are you pushing out? Are you guys doing, for example, EventIcons, our Facebook group, we do question of the week where we pull, a question related to our topic. We welcome obviously our members. We share the content of the show. We obviously give a chance for people to connect with each other as well. But, those are the kind of things that we do to keep engaged. What sort of things are you seeing that are working to keep people engaged? Brittany, you want to kind of kick it off?
Sure. So, we do a bunch of stuff, but we have our editors ask questions, and you can be featured in BizBash magazine. So I think that's a fun draw. And I think that if you can do that in some type of way, is like feature a member or feature some type of something to kind of get people talking, or come up with a cool question. We also do promo Fridays where we allow people to actually promote themselves. So that gets people, obviously, they want people to know about their brand. They want people to know either they're an event professional or they offer a service that would be perfect for this event. We offer them that opportunity to really get themselves out there. So that's one way to keep them engaged, but also we share the links to our groups, our hashtag and everything, while we're promoting our events as well. So as soon as people sign up, we're like, hey, why don't you join the conversation on this event group? Because it has to go all year round. You can't just have it be at your event. You can't just have it be for this certain week. So really it's getting them engaged in different channels, even if it's promoting on Instagram, like, hey, have you guys checked out this community where you can find new ideas, find new resources? So it's kind of pulling in all these different factors to get people talking.
Ooh, I like it. I like how I think that's great advice for anybody who's, even if you aren't, necessarily have a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group for your event yet, maybe you need to create a group for your event and start using it as an easy way to keep people engaged year round. I love it. David, what have you been seeing as well that has been keeping maybe someone as busy as you engaged on some of these LinkedIn and Facebook groups?
Well, I kind of look for the thought leadership pieces. Other than here's 6 things that you do. I'm sort of sick of that, the listicles. I'm interested in new ways of thinking. I'm big on making sure that elevating what an event organizer does, that event organizers are collaboration artists. So new ways of doing that's important to me. I always look at what is the social physics of a group. and how, you know, who are the stars that come out, and, you know, how do people react. Am I a big, you know, there's two people. You're either a consumer or you're a creator in these groups. And I've been more of a creator than a consumer, self-admittedly, because I'm so busy. And Brittany has been doing a lot of, she's been consuming and she's listening, you know, all three of those things, listening, consuming, creating, and doing new things to show them. Like when I see a new site or a new resource, like I just found this one, I think that I actually sent it to you, where you can actually record a podcast and you can edit it now on a word processor, which is kind of interesting stuff. And because I think when people are online, they want to get the sense of what's new, what's hot, what are they missing out on, what could they tell someone else that they don't know about to make them a star at their office. And that's what the beauty of podcasts are. You listen to this stuff and immediately you sound like a genius because we're talking about it so casually, you know, and then they are part of that conversation. So I think we try to keep it, I mean, what you're doing is incredible. And I think that's kind of the key to it. Could we do it better? Of course. The trouble is we don't have 40 hours in the week just to focus on LinkedIn.
Right. You wish you did, though.
I wish we did. Well, just any one of these we can improve a gazillion % if you focus on it. And you know, just by having this conversation, now Brittany and I are going to go back and say, what the hell can we do better?
Lachi, what about on your end? What do you guys do?
40 hours of work.
Thanks.
About me.
Right. Go ahead.
You know, I think that different platforms need different kind of content. Okay, so you know, in Morocco here, I've been working in 5-6 years ago for a company that was doing the same thing. I mean, gathering the information from different websites, mentioning the sources, and it seems that it's even better than creating the content. I know that the creators of the content, it's really hard for them to do this, but if you do the thing I do, at least mention the source, at least tell that this is BizBash that did this. It's not me. So I'm telling you this, the event digest, it's not my informations. It's a gather of the informations that I find on other websites, on other blogs, on other things. But hopefully, I have more and more people coming to me and asking me, Lotfi, can you please add this press release to it? Lotfi, can you please our blog post to it? Because they really believe that if they do this, they'll be seen, they'll be heard, you know, and things like this. Okay, so as I told you in the beginning, I'm trying to focus all the work on LinkedIn, and that's probably why we got to this interesting, let's say, number of people that are members in the group. As I told you, I try to make it as consistent as possible, 2 to 3 times a week, the event digest, and it seems that from the time that I became the manager of the group to now, every day we have more and more people come in asking to make part of the group. And most essentially, it's no longer only the manager. That's why I changed the name to pros. And I think that even I have to change it to EventProfs and students. It's because I'm seeing a lot of students wanting to make part of the group. It's because they see value in it. But as I told you, not only me, even for people that have groups with more members than the EventProfs, I mean, not only in the event industry, but across the industries, they have this problem to keep people engaged. It's just because LinkedIn is putting more and more restrictions on group, it's making it even harder and harder for people for the managers, for the owners, for the admins of the group to make it as valuable as possible for people. Then the other thing is that one thing that can make a group really interesting for people is that when they come, they don't see people trying to sell to them. I mean, I try to curate, let's say, the content in a way to make it presenting trends, maybe sharing videos, interesting videos, but not selling their products. But what I do is that I understand that people come to the group because they want to promote themselves. I know this. So as Brittany said, we have also a post that is dedicated to this. We tell people come here to this post and say what you do, and there are a lot of likes, a lot of comments, people coming to post what they do for their companies and so on. The other thing is that I don't know if you remember, but 5 years ago, on groups, LinkedIn used to have a section promotions. Don't know if you remember this, guys. You had the conversations, the jobs, the things, and you had something because they knew that people come to groups because they want also to promote themselves. So since now it's only conversations and jobs, what I try to do is on the conversation tab, I added the post, please come and tell us what you do here, be here, and so on. And that's basically how I try to keep the engagement on the group. But I'm always thinking of new ways. And actually, even adding, podcasts like we are doing now on a consistent basis is interesting for people, because I believe that my modest knowledge that I'm sharing here is interesting for people. David's and Brittany's, experiences are important for people. Maybe we think that we are doing something that is normal, but for people, it's important knowledge. And if I'm going to, and we had a conversation about this, Will, that I'll be sharing what you do, as this event icons. This is the new, I think, one of the genuine ways to still keep and move engagement and bring it back up. Yeah.
So I kind of want to move forward a little bit. It sounds like when you're part of these communities, a lot of it is the value that you get, right? But whenever you're part of a community, part of it is also giving value back, right? And this goes back to what David said about the creators and the consumers in these groups. How do you go from being just a member of a group to being a fan of a group? Like, how do I go to an event in the events industry and say, I am a proud member of this community online and I want to meet other members from this community? Like, how do you take it from this very passive, I'm just here observing and taking in information, to becoming an active member of a community?
I'll step in. I think you really have to be willing to put yourself out there, because there's a lot of people that will just sit back and be like, okay, cool. But there's a lot of people who aren't willing to ask questions. And I think what you need to do is ask questions. Find out, hey, I'm in New York City. Who wants to grab coffee and talk about events? Something like that. Like, find people who are interested. Or, hey, I'm going to this event next week. Who's going to be there? Let's meet up at X place and build that relationship. I think it's really all about building relationships. And I know that David is passionate, very passionate about that, and face-to-face conversations, but you won't be able to make those connections if you're not willing to put yourself out there.
But here's the secret. The secret that I'm going to tell you right now is that you have to give people permission to do it today. People don't just do it. You have to say, okay, like when I start any speech I ever give now, as I do this whole thing that it's not me, it's you. And that I give permission to the audience to talk to each other, to make conversations, because it's about how many conversations you curated, not about what I say. Because you can actually create a esprit de corps if you give them permission to say, okay, talk to the person next to you. I keep saying, I'm a guy, I won't have eye contact with the person sitting next to me. But if I have permission to do it, I will say hi, because believe it or not, I'm a little shy. And so you have to put your hand out there. But I think especially in today's millennial world where everyone is looking at their phones all the time, you have to say, okay, put it down, and now why don't you and be part of the community? But I think you have to physically do that now today, where you didn't necessarily have to do it before. So I think
how do you do that online? How do you do that within your digital community?
The same way we're doing it right now. You're asking good questions, and you're a good moderator. So you are engaging us. You're recognizing us. You're making us feel comfortable enough to talk, because it's all about feeling that comfortable. Like if you bring back what I'm doing at my events too, whenever I speak also, I do a receiving line at the door. welcoming people in so they meet me before I get on stage, so that and so you're kind of doing that. What Will did before we started is more part of what an event is and what a show is than the event itself, because it's the stuff before and the stuff after that people are so engaged. You love hearing what's going on before, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how you engage. You make them feel comfortable enough so that you're not walking to like a room, then you're frozen. And it's all the same. The social physics of online and the social physics of face-to-face are very similar, especially if you read Alex Penton's book on social physics. He's using face-to-face to figure out what's going on in digital.
Yeah.
It's not academic stuff.
I'll step in now. And I think that you used a great word. It's comfort. And what I'm going to say now, it's not related to groups, but it's related to the LinkedIn, let's say, platform, in general. I'd maybe change the word comfort by trust. This is how I would like to base my what I'm going to say, because I'm personally a fan also of the face-to-face interactions, and I would have been hoping to have this conversation with you, having a coffee and sharing and laughing, and because as you know, laughing and having business, it's not the opposite. We can do both, I think that let's now not speak about groups. Let's speak about LinkedIn in general. What you can do, the most important thing about LinkedIn is that you can present yourself in a way to people that they feel that you are a trustable business partner. And it all begins on your profile. Okay, it all begins on a good profile. And what I call a good profile, because people are not used to LinkedIn, and they think that it's rocket science to make part of it and to make it work for them. But how it works is that there are really no secrets. You only have to be, let's say, active on it on maybe a daily basis, a weekly basis, sharing with people, adding the people that matter in your industry and so on. And how it happens is that, let's imagine this, what happens now, what I'm going to say. You add someone. Even when you add someone, just don't send to him this generic message. Let's say, I'd like to add you to my professional network. Try to go deeper and make it, I will, I saw your profile, this and that, and so on. I'd be more than glad to have you among my connections. And it will be welcoming and personalized. Next step, he may accept, he may not accept. I see no reason why people don't accept. I personally have a huge percentage of people that accept my invitations, and that's a great thing. It means that people are here to share and they're willing to exchange ideas and so on. So once he accepts my invitation, he's going to my profile. If he sees a profile that is hacked, it's. Why are you laughing? Weird. I'm trying to have my. To make things together. Yeah. So he comes to your profile. If he sees in you a trustable person, he will move forward, with the conversation. Maybe you'll have a phone call, and going from this, you can meet him, face to face. As David said, it's really easy to do it this way. You only need to have maybe a photo that is interesting and telling that you are a welcoming person, that you are a professional person. Go into the summary, adding great things. Maybe if you worked with people in the past, asking them, or maybe they'll come by themselves, adding endorsements to you and recommendations. When people come and see a consistent, let's say, profile like this, believe me, they will accept you as a business partner. And moving from this, you can go to face-to-face. And it's really, really easy to go to face-to-face. Personal perspective is that I'm based in Morocco. Well, I travel, for sure I travel. But it means that, let's say that if I have someone that added me from Brazil, do I have to move to Brazil to have a conversation with him? I won't do this. I will only have a web conference with him like this. Maybe having coffee from my side, him from his side, and trying to make it as personal and as face-to-face, let's say between brackets, as possible. But for people that are based in the same cities, it's easy to leave the LinkedIn and move face-to-face. That's my idea. It all goes back to trust. Let people trust what you do by sharing the right content, by having a great profile. But I'm currently finalizing an ebook about LinkedIn lead generation, how people can use LinkedIn effectively to for effective lead generation. And I think that valuable information is going to be shared there, and hopefully it will help people to let's say know how to use this great platform. Yeah.
Let me bring up one other dynamic that would make sense, that makes sense for all the things. I believe that trust is 100%, making people feel comfortable is 100%. But one of the things that people don't realize that we're in is that none of us are in the business we think we're in. We're in the habit business. We're in the business of getting people to come back and do the same thing over and over and over again. So these engagement techniques that we use cannot be one-offs. They have to be, oh my God, every X, this is going to happen. When I go to that site, I know that this is going to happen. That we're really, and it takes a lot of our, building a habit is a huge value. Will this, doing what you're doing for the amount of time you're doing it, every time you're doing it, you're building value that you don't even know about. I've been doing my thing now for 19 years. The idea of the trust that comes with a habit is part of that magic formula that we talked about. And so the idea that we do the same thing. We get up every morning, we brush our teeth, we go and we, what Wednesdays is coming to this podcast, and every Tuesday is coming to Gather Geeks, and every day there's something coming out. So we have to make sure that what we're doing in these groups fit into the habit business. And there's a lot of academic research on habits, and we're all, how many times do we get addicted? And that's the worst part of the habit, but it's still part of the things that we're all trying to do.
I agree 100%. I think building in a habit would be awesome. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, make sure that you're here. All right. We don't have a lot of time left. I want to get our last two questions in. First of all, shout outs to Evelyn Flynn and Patty Schock for joining us. Patty actually had a really funny joke. She said that, David, you said you were shy. We don't think you're actually shy.
But the social anxiety is our biggest issue in the event industry.
That's true. That's very true. All right, guys. Well, we got to get into our last two questions, and so we can get you guys out of here on time, because I know how valuable your time is. So let's go with our second to last question, which we always end with, which is, what is your one tip that you have for event planners? It can be group related or not. It can be about anything at all. Your chance to share your one tip. All right, David, you always got epic knowledge bombs to drop when it comes to tips for event planners. You want to go ahead first?
Well, this is pretty. This actually, I learned this yesterday. I was taking a subway ride from Chinatown back to my office in Chelsea, and I get into the subway, and all of a sudden this sort of musical group, one musical group gets on, and another musical singing group gets on, and it was almost Battle of the Bands. And they decided, instead of being Battle of the Bands, they decided to do a harmonize, and both groups sang the same song. And it was epic in terms of that whole subway cart was singing along with them. It was the ultimate in fun. And so I think that whatever we do, even the most academic learning has to be somewhat fun. And event organizing, like today's event, this was fun. So it was when you see the smiles on people's face, it was incredible what this was. And I did it on my Instagram, and I caught the whole thing, which was incredible too. So that's my fun, very, very academic.
I love it. Definitely always having fun is a big thing. What about you, Brittany? What's your one tip for event planners?
I would say get involved. Join these groups, join these associations. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because there's people who know different things than you. There's people obviously who know more than you, but you can also be an expert. You can give your knowledge, you can share your resources, you can share your ideas, because people are out there willing to listen and they want that information. So definitely get out there.
Ooh, I like it. It kind of ties back into set up those video calls, get engaged,
There
connect.
you go.
Right? Love it. Lachi, what about you? What's your one tip for event planners?
My one tip for event planners, and since we are talking about LinkedIn, it will be LinkedIn related. I think that it's invest in LinkedIn. Don't only use the free tools, because they have paid tools that are really powerful. And I personally, I've been a user of LinkedIn for the past 7 years, and I've seen how it changed. They've been moving features from plan to plan and so on. I'm not going to go deeper into this because it's not that important, But I think that, I've been speaking about I've been talking about the Sales Navigator solution, and I think that people should invest in this platform, because say that you are I'm giving an example here. You are looking, for example, for sponsors for your event. What you do with this Sales Navigator is that you can go and use filters and only say that people that are involved maybe within the marketing partnership departs in companies that are based in Pennsylvania, in companies that only have employees more than maybe 1,000 customers and so on. So you can go directly to the leads you are looking for, and that's maybe the one tip I can give to event planners is invest in LinkedIn, because I'm going to say it again, it's 80% of leads are there. So I don't think that someone that knows or maybe is aware of this number may leave. I know there's something I want to say, even for the viewers or maybe for the next viewers, people that may watch this episode maybe tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, I don't know. Invest in LinkedIn. It's worth it. That's what I do personally. I'm not asking you to do something that I'm not personally aware of and using. So well, we can connect. I can tell you how it works, and we're on LinkedIn. My name is Lotfi Sanaji, and just go add me, and we'll have an open conversation about this and about how you can use LinkedIn to maximize results for it. And, well, that's
awesome.
Yeah.
Puts his money where his mouth is. He tells you to add him on LinkedIn. There you go. All right, guys, we have one last final question. It's my favorite question of the day, so let's jump right on into it. What cool resources do you guys have? So whether it's books, blogs, gadgets, all that sort of stuff, feel free to share. This is also your chance to self-promote your guys' groups as well, so tell people to join them, or any other LinkedIn groups that you like a lot that maybe aren't yours. I know, weird promoting other people's stuff, but let's jump right on in with your favorite resources. David, you always got a cool book and blog or gadgets to share. What do you have to share today?
Our new magazine that just came out, the BizBash Best. And we call it Best because if you go onto Google and you look up the word best, it's 3 trillion listings or something ridiculous like that. So when you got the authority, we're using it on this. Yes, I use this. We're using all sorts of new things as well. We just discovered, what was the name of that thing animation, creating animations for $29 a month. Beautiful animation videos called Video Script, I think it's called, or something like that.
Something like Video Scribe.
Video Scribe.
Yeah.
Powtoon. I was thinking Powtoon or Go Animate.
Okay, that's mine. I'm self-promoting.
Love it. Brittany, what about you?
Obviously BizBash, as David said. Also, you can use David Adler as a resource. He will always talk to anyone. So tap into that.
Not shy.
Yeah. But Gather Geeks podcast, that's cool too. But I also love reading like Event Manager blog, different industry things that I can get inspiration from. And obviously going in the event planners groups and Google searching. Like, don't be afraid to Google search like cool new ideas and new trends, because people are talking about it. So there's a million different things that you can do out there.
Ooh, I like it. Utilize the Google.
Yeah.
Lachi, what about you? What resources? I know you have a new ebook coming out. What sort of resources do you have to share with everybody?
Yeah, I'm actually wanting to leave it for the end, just telling people about the software maybe I'm using. I think that people, you asked about tips maybe prior to this question. And one of these is try to be organized. And when I say organized, is using CRM, using emailing software, using Sales Navigator. These tools, you may invest in them, but you will make this money back. just by helping you being organized and so on. It's I also think that it would be great if companies can go and use software, event software, for event management and so on. If their event is beginning to get bigger and bigger, I think that it's worth it to go to a solution where you find emailing, CRM, where you can use maybe organize your meetings, schedule workouts, and so on. I think that just go and Google all the event management software platforms that are there. And because I don't have a name, and I don't want to give a name just because I'm not here to promote people, but just go and type something like event software, and it will help you a lot. The other the other resource is, as you said, it's the ebook. I'm finalizing it. Actually, it's really, because I read a lot of ebooks about LinkedIn, and I actually bought them just to know what I'm going to share with people, and it's really valuable if I'm going to add something new. And it seems that a lot of ebooks, what they do is that they come with a lot of academic searches and so on, but that's not the thing that people will use. I mean, concretely, to make sales, to make lead generation work for them, and so on. So my ebook is one where I'll be maybe adding some pages just to understand, to tell people how the platform works and so on. But basically, it's how they can generate leads concretely through LinkedIn. I think it will be ready, and it's a side project for me. Just to tell you, it will be ready maybe this month or next month. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. It is that time again when EventIcons is over. Thank you all for joining us, all of our guests and our amazing attendees. We are here every Wednesday at the same time. That's 5 p.m. Eastern, and we've got incredible guests. You can also find us on Facebook Live. You can watch us here on Zoom, which is the best place to watch because you can really engage and communicate with us. And you can join the Twitter conversation. We're all over the place. You can watch past episodes online as well. Thank you again. Will, take it away.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of #EventIcons. To catch the transcription and all of the resources mentioned, head to www.helloendless.com/blog. This week's episode will be posted and available by next Tuesday. Also, let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Share your biggest takeaway and join the social conversation. Sponsored by Little Bird Told Media. Just tag your post with #EventIcons. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on #EventIcons.